Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review Series for the 18th of February, 1984. And we are fast moving through 84. Mr. Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA versus Mr. Letts and Jerry Gray is here. Their team seems to have some challenges coming up ahead in the next couple of months. I am through February, so I'm one more week ahead of us here. But anyway, there are some storyline developments of note here. TA manages a hip toss and an arm drag on Gray to begin, and ultimately tag off with the champions. Good work there between the mentor, coach, and Magnum TA. Of course, TA is looking to be in a good space. Good tag team work between the two of them. Drop kick right under the chin of Jerry Gray, and again we see Magnum TA with a big body slam, getting all he can out of the situation. And again we see a tag off there. Hard attempted shots there, and up and over the shoulder goes. Um, the opponent kind of we see the champions making quick tags, regular tags. Interesting that they haven't gone back to the Midnight Express and the champions yet. Drop kick under the chin of Let's by Magnum TA. TA getting cut off a little bit there, and we see that match break down a little bit more. Hard shots there, and a big power slam, belly to belly type maneuver combination. Champions are successful. Junkyard Dog gets a new number one contender. Bill Watts on location in Oklahoma basically tells us that, in fact, Magnum TA has been deemed the number one contender for the North American Championship. This angers in a secondary promo back to back. Angers Wrestling 2. He believes he's been passed over. Basically, he says that the Junkyard Dog knows he can beat Magnum TA, and he, as the coach, has been passed over, forgotten by the Mid-South people. He says it's a conspiracy, and that's kind of where that goes for a little while there. Nikolai Volkov and Junkyard Dog is up next. They have wrestled before. Matter of fact, a couple of months back over the North American Championship. Now, what's interesting is Dog does not always come out with the championship, which is kind of weird to me. I don't know if that's just by design or what that is. He comes out with it here, but there's been other weeks where he hasn't had it, which is kind of bizarre to me. Anyway, we kind of move forward, and the Dog waits for things to clear a little bit. Volkov comes back in, Terry Taylor seconding the Dog so that Khrushchev, or Darso rather, doesn't interfere. Terry Taylor obviously being put in that number 2, number 3 babyface spot. I would say number 3. Dog being first, and then maybe TA second and Taylor third. Anyway, big thump slam by the Dog, 1, 2, and 3. Quick match turnover, and again, going to see probably, I would imagine, some tag matches with those guys around the area. The Rock and Roll Express makes their debut here this week. Dale Vestry and Pat Rose, their opposition. Obviously, the Rock and Roll Express becomes so major to the area in this year, but this is their television debut. Of course, Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson, Ricky Morton. We again see their work in Memphis and the music video, and kind of hyping them as the team that all the girls will love, etc. and so forth. We see that prior to their match here, and what's amazing is they're so simple. Most of their teamwork is selling. It's just it's amazing. But 1984 really, when they take off on I don't know that I'd say a national level. Of course, they were a big deal in Memphis, but Mid-South probably covering more territory than the Memphis territory does. I think. I don't know that for sure. In 1984, so certainly a wider berth for them, and of course, I think from Mid-South they go to Crockett, and ultimately um, it is Robert Gibson that starts. He's up and over and around, gets the kind of roll, and then to the arm drag. Morton, of course, the guy who is more the flash of the team, but Robert Gibson, such an important member of the team as well. Head scissors take over, and then we see the double teaming maneuvers from the Rock and Roll Express. Rock and Roll managed to make a tag sunset flip, and Morton in. Morton comes right back up, arm drags of his own, and he stays right on his opponent. Interesting to see a much younger Ricky Morton. They were still teaming up until last year, pre-pandemic, and former NWA multi-time tag team champions, and won their most championship, I believe, in 2019. Anyway, Rock and Roll Express managing to do pretty well here. Cut off Rose comes in, and then we see the double drop kick finish. 1, 2, 3. Rock and Roll Express victory there, as one would expect. We go to Masa Ito and John King. Ito has been a force in the last several months here. That's not going to change anytime soon. And with only about 12 minutes remaining and several segments remaining, this match is pretty quick and to the point. Ultimately, Ito, kind of a lower to the ground guy. Punches, kicks, martial arts chops, and the like. Shots to the throat, shots to the midsection, and staying on the martial arts area. Not necessarily sure where this goes for him. I don't know how long he's here. But he has been protected very well as kind of having that chokeout type maneuver. Irish whips, and again Ito with the chops under the chin. He wants to do as much as he can. Big splash for him, and gets the victory with the splash. So maybe they've abandoned the submission, or they're not using it as much. Don't know what that's about. Butch Reed and Buddy Landell, who managed to be a team for the next little while here. In the Mid-South area against Poffo and Weingroff. This is their first time teaming on television, I believe, and ultimately, it's a pretty big deal because they end up being kind of heaters for each other, and this team, I think, remains pretty well intact until Landell leaves the area. I think he goes to Crockett from here. I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, Landell manages to get tied up in some arm bars and such from Poffo, and Weingroff comes in, stays on the arm that Poffo already started, fireman's carry takeover, and Landell bumping around like $1,000,000. Reed comes in, he uses more power. Of course, Reed, a former tag team champion with Jim Neidhart, and a former North American champion in his own right. Meanwhile, we see Weingroff staying on the arm, and Poffo coming back in. Of course, Poffo having a match not too terribly long ago with Landell on his own, and that didn't go well for Poffo. Anyway, Poffo stays on the arm for quite a bit, and the baby faces doing a lot of tag off. The story of the match is the arm. Weingroff comes back in. Meanwhile, the heels manage to cut things off for themselves. Shot under the chin, and again, there we go. The heels cutting things off lead to good things for everyone involved there. Shots by Landell with the big body slam and the knee drop right across the, I guess you'd say, lower chest, maybe face, depending on your camera angle. Big clubbing forearm by Landell. Landell runs over, knocks Weingroff off the apron, maybe giving them a chance to double team. Maybe that's the plan, but anyway, tag off between the heels, and Landell stays in, double team maneuver, and double back elbows. Something we don't see a lot of anymore. Anyway, Reed gets a wrestling roll through. 1, 2, only out the back door on that one. And again, Weingroff comes back in, cleans house on the heels for a few minutes, and it is clear to see that Landell and Reed were not expecting that amount of fire, but Landell with a cheap shot to the back, and then we see a double team, double tag, and the shoulder tackle by Reed, the corkscrew elbow by Landell, and a win for the new team. Then we go to Crusher Darso and Steve Bryson. They've only got about 3.5 minutes, so obviously this is going to move pretty quickly. Darso has been on top of his game. He's the one that took out Jim Duggan, among other things. Snapmare takeovers, rakes him with the bootlaces, does all he can do. The enhancement talent doesn't have a lot of offense here. Hooked in with the front face locks, among other things, and Darsaw manages to get any shot he can, including some brawling shots there. Irish whip by Darsaw, who doesn't seem to want to take a backward step, manages to hit some knees and all of that under the chin, and gets the hanging backbreaker for the win. There we go, and ultimately that will close us for this program. We'll be back with the finish of February right after this.